first and foremost, let's start with the kitchen stuff. I had my Toke spork and some titanium chopsticks. I also packed in a couple measuring spoons that I ended up pre-measuring anything that I added and putting it in the bag with the food anyway, so I won't be taking those back. I did buy this bear bag, and it came with a whole little kit to tie it up to a tree and throw it over a stick, or throw it over a limb. I didn't even take this out. In fact, I had put other things in here that I was going to use and forgot they existed too. So this bag and everything in it can essentially never go with me again unless I know for a fact I'm going to need to hang this up in a tree. Uh, but this is a cheap thing off of the Evil Empire big box online retailer. So if I was ever actually uh, near bears, I would upgrade this. I'm not going to be using this. This will be fine for rodents and bugs. I drank everything I needed out of my Mazama Amigo bottle. Loved it. I had other water as well, but this was great because it's got the measuring on it so that I could measure the water. I used this Soto stove that my wife got me along with the pot set. That was great. Of course, the fuel tank fits inside of it, and I picked up one of the jet boil canister stands because everything's on the level. I had this insulated bag that I picked up. It's like a little lunch bag, but it is insulated on the inside. This is what I did use to help cook the meal and keep them while they were warming in the bag. And then I bought this silicone, basically pot holder. That way I could hold stuff while it was hot. Doesn't weigh a whole lot. Everything here did great. Like I said, a few things I won't take back because I didn't use them, but no complaints. I did way overpack food. My buddy met up with me for day 2. I guess I packed enough for him too, and didn't really take into account that he was only going to be there, for 2 meals. He came, late afternoon, and we had dinner and breakfast the next morning. And so, I don't know why I packed 8 meals for him. Maybe I just wanted to make sure I had a selection for myself. I don't remember what the thought process was, but I'll be much more careful about what I pack next time. Lesson learned on that one. All right, let's talk sleep system. I used the hammock. Like I said before, it was the Wise Owl double hammock. I upgraded the carabiners. It uses some real, man, like a pound a piece. It feels like carabiners. So I just grabbed some aluminum ones from REI, and no problem there. Um, to that, I added the Helix insulated sleeping pad. It was great. I overinflated it the first night and slept terribly. Remembered that I was supposed to let some out for the hammock on the second night. Made a world of difference. I'd also read so much about how they slip around, so I bought some of these non-slip rug mats. It's like a little silicone rug mat. Cut a couple small pieces, threw them underneath the sleeping pad. Uh, it might have worked too well. I wanted to adjust it some when I was in it and couldn't, so I had to get out and do it. So I think I'll keep using these. If I keep use Whenever I use a sleeping pad, I just need to get more experience about how I want the sleeping pad set up, and when I know that, I can lock it in with those. But they did a good job. They did exactly what I wanted. I got the sleeping bag liner. Once I saw that it was going to be 20 degrees or less, I wanted to have everything covered. I didn't use it. It's wonderful, soft, like t-shirt type material. It's the Cedar Summit reactor liner made of Thermolite Pro. But with the fleece I was wearing and being in the hammock with the other stuff, I mean, there was no way I was gonna. It was like Velcro trying to pull it up, put it on my feet, and so that went back to the truck. I don't use the Wise Owl's tree straps. I got the Superior Gear cinch buckle system. I've tried a few. I love this one. And man, with these beefy aluminum buckles, I feel super secure. So that's what held it to the trees. So that was the baseline on the hammock. Of course, I had to stay warm, and I worried a lot about that. So at the last minute, I ordered stuff from One Wind to get it there, including this. They call it the Flare under quilt, and it did a fantastic job. I was real happy with it. It was easy to adjust. It came with. I also picked up this cheap little ground mat with it, just to add on to the order. Just snow covered on the ground, so kept my feet dry while I was getting in and out of boots and stuff. So that was good. The main part was the Alps Mountaineering quilt. This is the Radiance quilt. It's rated for 35 degrees. It did great. I mean, I don't know what it's going to do on its own because I paired it with the underquilt, but I also had this Alps Mountaineering wavelength blanket, which they don't really say, but I think it's around 45 degrees probably. It might be 35. It's similar feeling to the quilt. This was plan A before I got the underquilt. I have an Eno hammock, and I was going to double layer that with the Wise Owl and put this underneath. And this was going to be kind of my makeshift underquilt. But I went ahead and got the underquilt and used it all. And I'll tell you, it got down to 15 degrees the first night. I was cozy. I wasn't cold at all in the hammock. I could have stayed in there all day. Now outside the hammock, I'm from Austin, Texas. It doesn't get that cold. I don't have a lot of cold weather gear, clothing wise, so that'll have to be upgraded. But with all of this, got it done. Like I said, this won't go back. I will probably use this when it's warm out. This would be perfect for early summer when you just want something on you, but it doesn't have to be, doesn't have to really keep you warm in any way. I also have the bug net from Wise Owl. I've set it up in the past and I've had no problems with it. It's a little awkward, but it works, covers everything. I didn't use it this time because it was cold. I didn't see any bugs, so I didn't want to mess with it. It just seemed like it was going to be more claustrophobic. I also had this Cascade Mountain Tech inflatable pillow already at the house. I don't even remember ever buying it, but it was here with a sleeping pad that I didn't trust, so I left it at home and took this pillow. I didn't care for it. It slips around, whatever. It just ended up sitting in my chair, and it won't be going back. I'll end up with the pillow probably. I like pillows, but not that one. This tarp system, this is something that was destined to be replaced before I even went, but the one I ordered from One Wind didn't show up in time, and so I had to go with what I had. And, this was plan A. Everything, the new one was a backup when I ordered. Just cheap blue tarp from Harbor Freight. It did the trick, but man, it is heavy. It is bulky. And then I used what I had on hand. These are some tent stakes and lines that I use for a pop-up greenhouse I have. These are great. These are the tarp clips. This has grommets, but just in case I wanted flexibility, I didn't know. I grabbed these. Obviously, I got way more than I needed, but I took them all, carried them in. I might take a couple in the future just to. There was a lot of uses I saw for them. Never this many, but even with the tarp kit, that's made for this, I think it would be good to have. And this was a rope and these night eyes, kind of a ratcheting system. This is great. This is way overkill for what I needed, but this is what I had, and it did great. I mean, there was no problem holding the tarp up with that. So all of that is just way too much, though. I mean, it's almost 3 pounds, so it's already, by the time I got home, this had showed up. This is the one. This is all the same stuff, but it's less than half the weight, and you can see, I mean, less than half the bulk easily. So this will be really nice. Save a lot of weight and space in the pack. So we'll try this out the next time. I haven't taken it out yet, but yeah, I'm excited to have something more purpose built and compact. I want to be able to document all this as much as possible. I'm trying to make this as a some content creator stuff. So of course I took the GoPro and all the little trinkets I have for it that fit in this case. It was nice in the side pocket of my pack. With that, I have the DJI mini mic, mini mic 2 or whatever it is with the little puff balls, and they seem to be doing a good job. I didn't take a tripod with me. I started to, but it was just too much on the pack, and I had to cut some weight and stuff. So I did take this. This is what I have for just photography. This is the Primos Trigger Stick Generation 3. This is a monopod, but what I like about it is that it uses this trigger, so it's real quick to adjust. And I bought a head for it to hold the camera, and of course it has GoPro mount attached to it. I did grab this from the tripod in case I wanted to do something with the phone as well. It'll fit right on there. In addition to that, just for fun, I picked up this trail cam just to see what may or may not be out there. Real inexpensive, and I'm pretty happy with what pictures I saw. I didn't catch anything on the camera of importance, but you know, just shots of me wandering into the woods in the middle of the night to pee. So if anybody wants those, go see some help. That's gross. I picked up this power bank. This is an Anchor. I've always been happy with their stuff. It could be lighter, but it's a great size. Man, it charged everything up as I needed. It didn't do great with the cold. If I do extra cold weather stuff in the future, I might get the Nightcore Summit that is made for extreme cold. It did fine, but I definitely had to lay with it in the hammock before I did anything. And I had my, AirPods, my watch, all that stuff. So a few things to charge on it, but we'll see what the final result is. I'm still editing, but I was real happy with how it all worked and and how it performed as far as using it in the field. But we'll see what the results are. You can judge. Of course, I had my phone too. Um, that, but it's doing the recording right now. You guys know what an iPhone looks like. On top of all that, I just had other trinkets and baubles and necessities. I took this Gossamer Gear little seat pad. That was great. Of course, this is the toiletry bag I use for traveling already, so I took that. I'll end up getting something more purpose built. But this was about using some of what I had. Like this headlamp, I really like it. It's heavy, man. Like this serves as a weapon too. But I really like it because it's got a dedicated button for power and for switching through the different cycles. And so I really like that. If I put it on red, I turn it off, and it'll be on red when I turn it back on, and it's real easy to remember which side that button's on. So I like to do night photography and telescope and stuff, so that's important. And I had my, some sunglasses, and there was an organizer for the ridgeline on my hammock that this was cheap. I picked it up somewhere. I did not care for it. I'll probably end up replacing that with something else. I had my bandana. I used some of these clips. I had my Leatherman, some hand warmers in case I needed them. I took these little fire blocks, a handful of them, just a few out of the truck, And I had some other little stuff sacks filled with things. And man, this stuff all adds up, right? It didn't seem like much at the time, but I'll definitely pay closer attention next time, because I was already carrying this beast of a pack, man. The Gregory Zulu 65, and man, it was loaded to the gills and then some. So combination of bulk and weight. When I first had it loaded up out of the truck, it was over 40 pounds, and a lot of that I knew, like the tarp and stuff like that, I knew was heavy, and and then I was carrying all that extra food, so it was my first time, live and learn. And of course, what I mentioned before, I had this great thermometer. It's not the lightest, not the smallest, but man, it performed great. It was good to look at, and then I've got the record. People don't believe me when I say that I was out there at 15 degrees. I've got charts to prove it. Not just pictures. So that'll stay. I bought it for this, and I love it. But I knew that was going to be. And this pack, man, like I said, it was overloaded. It was way too heavy. It was it was crying just like I was, and it felt great. The hip belt felt great. The shoulders felt great. It was heavy. And I hadn't been training with it, but no complaints about the way it performed. I mean, and I'm real happy with it. Shout out to Gregory. It was great. It held everything, and I won't work it as hard in the future. So, yeah, that's everything I had.